Hey everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to show you how to use your rubber stamps with the Thermo Web Transfer Gel Duo. Now there's two ways to use this gel. You can use it with heat or without heat, and that's what I really appreciate about this new gel. I'm also going to be using some Neon Pop transfer sheets. This is the flock and the regular transfer sheet, and these are great to use with this gel. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to bring in my MISTI here, and I'm going to use this to help me keep everything lined up when I go to create. So I'm using this CHEVRON rubber stamp, and this is from Pinkfresh Studio. And what I'm going to do is leave it on the transfer sheet on the backing that it comes with. I'm going to grab myself a piece of paper and some tape. Now to get this lined up, I want to take my paper, put a little piece of purple tape behind it, and I want to make sure that this stamp right here does not move. So I'm going to grab my wider purple tape, and that's going to keep that acetate sheet right in place so it does not move. Now this stamp set does come apart, but I want to use every single part of this or every single piece of this background stamp. Now you can take out some of the chevrons if you want, but I just want to show you how you can get a pretty cool backdrop for your cards. I like to make a lot of card panels, set them aside to use at later dates. So I'm always experimenting with what I can do with those background stamps. Now I'm going to take that piece of paper, and this is just Neenah Solar White. I have that purple tape on the back. I'm going to flip my MISTI lid over and pick up that piece of paper. So this way I know it's going to line up to where that stamp is. Now it's time to pull out the transfer gel. Now this transfer gel is really smooth, and I'm going to use the ink dauber with this. So I'm just going to grab out some of that gel with my little Nuvo spatula, and I'm just putting it right on top of the lid of my MISTI. And then I'm going to take that little tool and I'm going to pounce it onto my rubber stamp. Now this will not harm your rubber stamp, but I will tell you this: as soon as you are finished with this, you want to clean that rubber stamp. Now mind you, with putting on this gel, you are not going to get so much of a smooth background on this. It's going to have a lot of texture. So it's going to look different than if you were to just stamp with this background stamp. Obviously, if you go to put this on smooth, you would have a tendency to wipe it off. You would end up wiping off the gel off the stamps. So that's why I like to kind of do this pouncing little motion first and make sure that I have even coverage. Now again, I have tried this several times with several rubber stamps, and they have not damaged my stamps at all. Once I feel like I have a pretty good layer on here, I just want to make sure, because I have thin lines and thick lines with this background stamp, I just want to make sure that's all covered. And I'll show you another example a little bit later in the tutorial. Once I get that all on there and I see that I have a really good coverage, all I have to do now is to take my MISTI, and I'm going to lay the paper again, flip it upside down, and I'm just going to rub. Just nice little gentle rub, like a MISTI massage. Just making sure I get contact. I'll lift that back, and now I know that my paper's stuck nice and good, and now I can go in with that vigorous rubbing. Just making sure that I'm getting as much contact of that paper to that rubber stamp. Now I can peel this back, and you're going to see just very faintly that I have that design on that stamp, or I have that stamp design rather on the paper. I would go ahead and pull up my rubber stamp, again, just pulling it off, and I have a bucket of water off to the side. I'm just going to dunk that in there for right now. Now I want to use the Poppin Purple transfer sheet. These are like 80 happy colors to me. I grew up in the 80s, so you know, this tells you how old I am. But I love these colors. So there's a shiny side and a dull side. I'm going to leave the shiny side up and the dull side down. I'm hovering that over, but if you don't get it lined up perfectly, it's okay. You can pull up that transfer sheet until it lines up. Now this gel is a little bit sticky, but you can still maneuver your transfer sheets or your flock on top of it until you get it where you want it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and rub that in, and just with me rubbing with my fingers, you can very faintly see the design coming to life. Now again, this design is not going to be smooth. It's going to have some texture to it because remember, we dabbed on that the transfer gel. So you can kind of see the design a little bit in there, but I do want to trim down this paper, or transfer sheet rather. I'd like to keep every little scrap of this stuff. It is beautiful. It's so bright and vibrant. So I just make sure to trim down my panel so I'm not wasting any of it. Now, once I have this all trimmed down, I'm going to go ahead and run this through my machine. So I just have my make machine off to the corner. It's heating up, and I'm going to grab myself a piece of parchment paper. I'm just going to put that in the middle. Now I'm going to run this through my Mink as well as my die cut machine, just to flatten everything out. Now while that's running through, I want to show you how to clean your stamp. This was just a bucket of water and a dab of Dawn dishwashing liquid. I just have a toothbrush and I'm just cleaning off that gel. I'm not rubbing really too hard, just making sure I get in between each groove. And once this is cleaned, it's back to normal. You don't have to worry about like you've scratched it, you've messed it up. Even if you have a little bit of the transfer gel on there, once it dries, I was able to peel it off. So again, I'm just going to dunk it in, and you can already see that the white part of the transfer gel is basically off of this rubber stamp. Now, I've never tried this with the clear stamp, so I'm not sure how that would work, but I do love the way it works with the rubber stamps. Now, all I have to do is take this to my kitchen and wash off the stamp. Now, I want to show you another one with this beautiful new image from Simon Says Stamp. This is the Peony or Peonies bouquet. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Take my piece of paper, line this up over the section that I want to be covered. Now, mind you, this image is a lot bigger than the image on a regular standard card. So what I'm going to do is lay it down in my MISTI first to make sure it's going to line up. And then I'll flip my MISTI over because you see I have the purple tape on there. And now that's going to stick this larger, beautiful image down to my MISTI lid. So that's another tip. If you don't want to just tape it onto the side, add some tape to the back of the acetate in which the rubber stamp is on, and you can tack it down that way as well. Now I did add some more of that transfer gel. I have my little pouncer again. Now this time I'm going to put it on a little heavier, and there's a reason why. So you're going to see that I'm going to use a good amount of this gel. Now this is a bolder design that has some intricate pieces to it. So I want to make sure that I get a good solid impression with this. That's because, you know, we have the lines and the grooves of the flowers, and you want to make sure that you get that textured look of those flowers once you pull your paper off of this. So you see I'm going in a tad bit heavier, doing a little heavier with pouncing. Now you can use this transfer gel as well on your stencils and larger backgrounds. I've actually did it with little tiny hearts, and I'll show you that a little bit later. It just really gives you another option to use the gel and your background stamps. Those large rubber stamps, I have a tendency sometimes to put aside and only really use them for backgrounds, but there's wonderful ways to use these larger background images. And I do have a post on my blog where I use this same stamp in multiple mediums, so check that out. Now you will see I'm swiping across this, just back and forth. It's going to give me some lines, a little bit of texture in here. And that's just because I want to give this a little bit of a different holding power, because I'm going to use flocking with this instead. So I'm just brushing that right across. Now you can do it two ways. If you did this and you did it with the transfer sheet, you're going to get the lines. I'm using it with flock. Now, if I do get any in between the creases that might have built up, I can easily use my pick tool and just take some of that gel out from in between those tiny little crevices. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this if it's not really built up. I just want to kind of clean off those edges just a little bit. Again, this is not hurting my stamp at all. I'm just trying to pick up any areas that might have a little bit too much excess of that transfer gel in the grooves. Once I have that cleaned up, I can go ahead and grab my piece of paper again. I'm going to lay it over the area in which I want to capture. So I'll go ahead and place that down. And I will go ahead and close my MISTI lid one more time. Do a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of patting. Now I can lift that off. My paper's still there. And now I can really start to press down. Now you see I'm not rubbing too hard. I'm actually like pressing because remember these are flowers. So my design is a little bit different. But I do want to make sure I get good contact with that paper onto that gel. Now once I have it all done and I'm pretty sure I have enough coverage, I can go ahead and pull this off. Now you will see I have the design very faintly. You can see it right there. I have the design. A little areas are a little high for me, like not even. So again, I'm just going to come back in with that little pick tool. And the pick tool is from Concord and Ninth. And I can just grab off some of those high points. Now this one I'm going to set aside to dry. I let it dry for about an hour. I didn't worry. I went on and did something else. Again, I'm going to clean this background stamp just like I cleaned the other one. A little bit of Dawn and water, scrub, 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 and rinse it off at your sink. Now here comes the magic part. You can see that this is dry and shiny now. So now I'm going to grab my flock. This is the Orange Glow. And I'm going to press this right on to that flock. Now, once I get this in place, I am going to trim this down and then I'm going to run it through my ink machine. So this is going to give me such a gorgeous background. Now let me show you what I achieved here. Look how gorgeous this bright orange floral pattern is on that paper. And that flock feels like velvet. It is absolutely stunning. I'll have pictures of completed cards over on my blog. So let's see the pink one that we did earlier. Another gorgeous pattern. And I also did this on black cardstock. I used a small heart background stamp from MFT. And then I didn't want to waste the leftovers. So I went ahead and used that piece that I pulled off the black and I put it on a white card panel. I also did it again in the chevrons in the striping fashion that I used for the orange one. But this orange one is my favorite. Leave me some comments below and let me know if you'll give this a try. I would love to hear your comments. Thank you guys for watching and I'll be back in another video soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.